to summarize our conversations, we've gone through 4 what we'll call tools for our toolbox, our mindful toolbox. Do you want to summarize what those are as just a quick takeaway and something to reflect on as we practice these?
Yeah, so all of these are geared towards academic success. But, as we can see in looking at each of the modules, there's more going on there than just academic success. Because to become successful, we need to be more in balance with ourselves. We need to be less reactive, more responsive, build some resilience. All those kinds of things really add up to a successful academic career, but also a successful being a human career. So I guess I can kind of summarize what those tools are. So in the first module, we focused on just preparing for class.
Right.
And that involved the simple 60-second present moment awareness meditation practice. That's simple.
You can do it anywhere. You can do it before class. It's to yourself. You're just focused on your breath.
Right.
And going from there.
Right.
Yeah.
Letting the sediment settle.
Right.
So that you can have some clarity in addressing what's happening in your present moment, whether it's in a classroom or some other situation.
Right.
And then also with the invitation to expand the number when you can. 1 minute, maybe try 5. Maybe after a while, try 10. Go back to 1. Whatever works for you, don't give up. But do bring attention to the effects that it has, the positive effects that it has in terms of your engagement with your world.
Right.
The second one was actually looking at something that is an ongoing challenge for students, and that's the stress around getting assignments in and getting exams done. And we talked about how that present moment awareness helps with some aspect of that because the clarity it brings allows you to be better prepared for the assignments and exams, right? But also in the moment of the assignment or exam deadline or taking the exam, you're confronted by anxiety or stress. How do you work that with that? And so what we tried was the dynamic breathing the chicken breathing exercise, which at the risk of public humiliation actually brings more alertness and also almost in a contradiction, calmness to what you do next. So we covered that as a tool in the toolkit. Something you can do on your own in a stairwell or in your room or with friends who you trust to build some community around it. Yeah.
And on that, just because it is a unique one, but super helpful is that modification. Start off, you can just do the nose,
right,
and then or just the nose and the arms, or do the whole kit and caboodle, nose, arms, and legs.
Yep,
so you have flexibility on how you practice something like that.
That's right. And even if you're chair bound for one reason or another, you can just go ahead and do it in the chair. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Start small, work your way up, build your resilience. And so the third module was focused on discomfort, learning from or sitting with discomfort. And we talked about how discomfort is really a feature of the educational experience in general. It's a feature of life in general. But we're always confronted at one moment or another with things that we either don't agree with or that cause us to feel resistance in ourselves towards it, whether it's an idea or even another person. How do we learn to cope with that? And so the key teaching in that one was just, or lesson in that one was just that discomfort actually can be a teacher. And so if we change that orientation and start looking at discomfort as a teacher, what can we get out of that? And so the practice around that, the tool around that was actually sitting with discomfort, literally sitting with discomfort. Taking 5 minutes, doing that present moment awareness practice, but doing it for 5 minutes or even longer, and seeing what comes up. Noting, labeling the discomfort itself, whether it's a itch on your nose or some kind of restlessness, and then moving on to what's my reactivity around that? What's my kind of knee-jerk reaction to that? Do I want to get out of the chair, or do I want to scratch that itch? And then responsiveness, no, I'm going to create some space, a little bit of daylight between that impulse to react and my experience of the thing itself, and then see what happens. So that over time, again with repetition, can grow our resilience and grow our capacity to learn from discomfort.
As was mentioned, as a habit. Make
habit.
that a habit as well.
That's right. A healthy habit.
Yeah, sitting in discomfort.
Yeah.
And coping.
Exactly.
And the fourth?
The fourth one was focused on reading, something that, is a big deal in higher education, but that we arguably over the last 30, 40 years, because of the advance of technology and the appearance of these lovely phones that we have that seem to rule our lives, our smartphones, our smartphone, controllers, we've lost maybe the capacity to really go deep on some of the things that we're reading. So mindful reading is just a practice like all the other ones, where you try it out a little bit at a time, but you're bringing your attention to a conversation that you're having with the author or the authors of that text, and really sort of finding out where things resonate with you, where do you find these points of connection, where do you disagree, taking note of that, and also, again, noticing that discomfort that comes up with lack of knowledge or uncertainty or confusion, and flagging that. And then the last step being actually responding, not reacting, but responding. Reaction might be closing the book and running away. Responding might be, oh, this is interesting. I'm experiencing discomfort. What can I learn from that?
Yeah.
And I'm going to explore more deeply some of these ideas or concepts or whatever.
There's curiosity in questioning it with kindness, and I think a good way to wrap it up too is to remember at the beginning there are these three kind of zones: that comfort zone, and then the stretch zone where we get our learning. That comfort zone is maybe laying in your bed and not doing much out there, but then it is going to that stretch zone, seeing something else, learning something new. And then there's an uncomfortable zone. Is there another name for that?
Overwhelm.
Thank you. Overwhelm zone. And although we want to sometimes avoid that because we might shut down, but it's also just knowing that in every facet of our lives we have these different circles that look different for ourselves as well as others, and recognizing that, and because we're just trying to grow as humans. And I think what mindfulness can do is allow us to embrace that a little bit easier.
And then keeping in mind this idea of discomfort, knowing that when we're in our stretch zone, let's say we're feeling safe, but we're in our stretch zone, what's it like to push just a little bit on that envelope where the overwhelm zone is? Just a little bit, to see what happens. Again, when you're in overwhelm, you can just back right out, ground yourself, in the present moment, and just let it go.
Right.
But what's it like to stretch a little bit more with some of these practices, with some of these ideas, and see if you can actually grow your stretch zone,
right?
Rather than leaving it sort of stuck at one size.
Yeah. I think it would be. I think of Eleanor Roosevelt saying, "Do something that scares you every day."
Yeah,
I believe it was Eleanor.
nice.
But I like what your chemistry teacher said. And what was that again?
Oh yeah, biology.
Biology. Thank you.
Saying that if you notice that a new idea, something related to that, is causing you discomfort, is clashing with your worldview, is contradicting some of your assumptions about the world, pay attention. You're about to learn something.
So pay attention in that uncomfort.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, great.
Cool. Thank you, Dannon.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Enjoyed it.